Joining me today is Savannah Simms. Savannah is a well-known personality within the music industry and gaining rapid recognition as a DJ. But beyond the decks, alcohol and addiction to the packet had her in a chokehold. Tell me about growing up.
My mental health was pretty bad as a kid, to be honest. I started drinking when I was 14. The pills came in around 16, 17. From when I was around 19, it was just social. It was just, I was running raves, I was running events.
You were running the raves. Were you using the packet when you ran events?
Yeah.
And how often will you be doing that?
All the time. I can't remember a time where I've had a relationship sober. The guys who I was dating were just as bad as I was. I was degrading myself and I really mixed, sex for love.
Elliott Wald, addiction specialist. Coming clean with me.
Hello, I'm Elliott Wald, addiction specialist, and welcome to another episode of Coming Clean with me. Joining me today is Savannah Simms. Savannah is a well-known personality within the music industry as an events manager, an artist developer, and gaining rapid recognition as a DJ, which seems to be her passion. But beyond the decks, alcohol and addiction to the packet had her in a chokehold, dragging her towards a precipice where careers are shattered and lives are lost. Now, 96 days into her sobriety, Savannah is here to share her story. So tune in, turn it up, and let's drop the beat on addiction together. Welcome, Savannah.
Hi.
Good to meet you.
Great to meet you, Elliott.
Thank you for coming.
Really happy to be here.
So good. Tell me about growing up. What it was like for you, where you grew up, what that was like.
Yeah, I grew up in southeast London, and it was pretty all right, to be honest. I went from Peckham to Lewisham. I did pretty well in school, actually. I got all my GCSEs and stuff. But, my parents were separated from when they were, when I was a kid. So, from when I was a baby, actually. And all my siblings are, half. So, I kind of was raised as an only child in a way. But, yeah, some sticky times growing up, I'd say. Yeah.
And when did you start drinking and smoking? When did that start for you, and experimenting?
Yeah, so I started drinking when I was 14. I feel like there's a common theme in the UK for that. But my first cigarette was when I was 15, and I had the distinct memory, I can remember it as clear as day, where I wanted to know how it would feel to be addicted to a cigarette. So I kind of chuffed them down my throat until I liked them, and I'm still yet at 28 addicted to cigarettes. And then I'd say ecstasy, the pills came in around 16, 17. And yeah, I just got bad from there.
And then how did that progress on? I like to, instead of using the word cocaine here, because I'm going to be putting on various platforms, we use the word packet.
Cool.
How did that progress to using the packet?
Yeah, so with MD, that got really bad, taking it by myself. Then I got sick of it. Same with, the green stuff. I got sick of that. And then I found the packet and I was like, whoa, oh my God, this is the one thing that I can have because I don't like feeling drunk. So I can take the packet and I can feel leveled out. And I just felt normal. I felt great. I felt exhilarated, but I also felt on a level. So started that around 19 until now. Yeah.
And how often were you using the packet at that point?
From when I was around 19, it was just social. It was just, I was running raves, I was running events.
You were running the raves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was running raves, 3,000 capacity. It started.
What kind of year was this?
Oh God, I couldn't tell you with my dyslexia.
Okay.
I'm 28 now.
How old were you then? Let me work that one out.
I'm 19, I was 19.
Okay, so 9 years ago, right?
Yeah.
9 years ago, okay.
Yeah, so running events, became really social, going out to pubs and stuff, bars.
Were you using the packet when you ran events?
Yeah.
And were you using the packet when you went out to bars and clubs?
Yeah.
And how often will you be doing that?
All the time, every time, because I don't like feeling drunk. I don't like not feeling in control of my own body. So when I discovered that, I was like, oh, I love the taste of booze. So when I take this, I won't have to have, the consequences of feeling drunk and erratic and not being able to get home, you know what I mean?
That's a very, very common thing because it levels people off so they're not as drunk.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the attraction to you.
Yeah.
And what quantity were you using?
Then it was a packet could last me...
What size packet? What's in a packet?
So a 40.
Okay, a 0.4.
So half, 0.4,
Okay,
0.5. That could last me about 2 days. to the
Okay.
point where, you know, in my mid-20s, like, you know, a 0.5 would last me half a night, you know, and it just went downhill from there. You
So
know?
what was the most you would be using on a going out basis?
I'd say
by the end of it?
about 2 to 3 grams in a night, for sure, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, around 25 to 28, it was just like, it plummeted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you only ever use when you drank alcohol, correct? Just to level yourself
yeah.
off. Okay. And did that recreational usage change to solo usage, or did it remain recreational?
No, solo. Yeah.
Tell me how that transition happened.
So I feel like at first it was social, and then it was self-medication. You know, it was so fun and it felt so freeing, but then it became a necessity, it became a need. I couldn't have a good time without it, you know? And when I was sad, angry, frustrated, excited, happy, that would be my go-to, that would be my medicine. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really interesting because it becomes your prop when you're out.
Yeah.
You know, it's your support. It can make you the life and soul of the party. It becomes very sociable. And then eventually, for the majority of users, it doesn't become sociable. It becomes using it on their own.
Yeah. Yeah, that was me. That was in the house, by myself, in the flat. My housemate travels a lot, so it was kind of like, oh, mum's gone, you know? So I'd utilize a lot of that time to be in my room, you know, living in, like I'd say, squalor. You know, you don't really look after yourself. Just taking it by myself, speaking to people online. Like, there'd be these random sites where I wanted the social aspect, but in the safety of my own home without actually being and talking with people face to face. So I go on these like online like sites and talk to people from all across the world, whether it was camera or whether it was just by message, and that was kind of my entertainment whilst I was using by myself. But yeah, it got really bad. You know, it was just too consistent for my liking, hence the reason why I'm clean now.
Right. And when you're working in the music industry, and I've spoken to a lot of people who work in the music industry in a lot of different levels, you know, the different jobs, DJing and, you know, artists performing and artists and all different types of people. And, you know, listen, it's rife in every industry, but certainly in the music industry, certainly in the entertainment industry. How have you found that?
Yeah, rough, man. It's almost like wearing a badge of honor, you know, when you take drink or when you take drugs, you know, when you're on the packet. It's everywhere. Even when I was running events or doing artist liaison where you're looking after all the artists and stuff, and they'd ask you to pick up for them, you know? So it's kind of like you're consistently around it. And if the stress of the job as well, you know, when you just want that freedom and you just want to get out of your head, you're consistently on it. Everyone is on it, Elliot. Everybody is on it. And it's kind of like being a smoker, actually. When you start smoking cigarettes, you realize all of your friends around you are smoking cigarettes, you know. I don't really have many friends who don't smoke. So when you start drinking in the industry and then on the packet in the industry, suddenly everyone around you is on the packet. So it's kind of like you just can't get away from it. It's crazy.
Accepted.
Yeah, way accepted, you know. And if you're not on it, people are like, oh, why? You know what I mean? It's like, what do you mean, why? I don't want to poison my body anymore.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm sure in the music industry it's the same as in the film industry. I mean, I have a clinic near Elstree Film Studios where they film EastEnders and other programs, and they go on location. And I've got quite a few clients of mine who have worked in Elstree Film Studios in one capacity or another. And I said, well, what do you do when you're on location? And they say, just get it when we're on location. I went, oh, how do you do that? And they went, security guards always serve up.
That's so crazy you mentioned that. I remember when I was working a couple of jobs in festivals, and there were 2 security guards where I give them beer and they'd find like a packet for me, you know, off people, off the floors. So they were like distributing me stuff in return for like beers from the rider room. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's honestly, and you can see it in people's, now I'm clean. I don't know if I'm skipping far ahead, but I can see it in people now, whereas when I was on packet, I couldn't see it before. But now I'm like, oh, raw, is this what I look like? It's mad. It's crazy. But yeah, yeah, I'm sticking to my guns.
How much money were you spending on booze in the packet?
So I was really fortunate at the age of 25, 26 to fall into a really, really good job in the music industry, like really good job. So my money flew, which means the money on the packet flew. So at one point I was spending 800 quid a month just on that alone.
Okay, £200 a week.
Yeah, and then, but that's not including alcohol. So when
Yeah,
it
that's
all
just the
adds,
packet.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So when it all adds up, you're like, ooh. And then unfortunately the funding got cut from that job. So I had to just work in other places in the industry, but it wasn't the same money, but I was still spending the same money, but not on the same money, ultimately putting me in a bit of debt. You know what I mean? And it's so crazy. It's like you'd forget, you know, it's like you don't look at your bank account. I never looked at my bank account. I just hope for the best, to the point where you're just messaging every Tom, Dick and Harry, Lucy, Jane and Sarah asking to borrow money. Do you know what I mean? Just to like fulfill that, you know, the addiction. And alcohol was always a trigger for that. So if I bought a couple of cans from the shop, I'm spending my last £3 on a couple of cans, knowing full well I haven't got food in the fridge. And then I'm asking like people to borrow money.
Yeah, can I borrow enough for a ticket?
Do you know what I mean? Well, you wouldn't say that.
No,
It's
of
all
course
about
not. I haven't paid my gas or my
Yeah,
lecky. I need money for my lecky. Can you lend me 50 quid?
Do you know
Oh,
what I
50
mean?
quid. That's a funny amount, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a 0.5.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Literally, yeah. It's mental, so.
And what are some of the craziest things you've done while under the influence?
I'd say, I remember this one time I went to a club called Phonics in Brixton with a lady who I used to use with. And then somehow we ended up in Richmond and we crashed a golf course. And it's like men are golfing and there's buggies everywhere. Somehow we managed to get on one of the buggies, so that was pretty fun. You know, skateboarding on roofs, you know, in like traffic cone suits. I don't know. It's just some random stuff you find on the street and end up wearing. Finding like a Boris bike in the bush and riding that around in my guardianship. But, you know, I think, oh God, police. I don't know. I think I've got really lucky with police, thankfully. You know, like trying to get into places where I shouldn't be getting into for like illegal events. And then the police officers helping us down and actually showing us where to go. Do you know what I mean? I've gotten so lucky when it comes to police. You know, selling NOS on the streets and just being asked to just give them what I have, to be honest. I've been really fortunate not to be arrested, which has been really fortunate. I don't know how I've gotten away with half the stuff I've gotten away with, but yeah, a really good reason to be clean today, so I won't have to find out.
And what ways did your addiction affect your mental and physical well-being and health?
Yeah, I'm just going to put it point blank. I wanted to die every day. I was not mentally there. You know, I called a friend and my older brother in just like absolute despair, just distraught. Just like, I need to either go to rehab or I need to go somewhere to get away from this because I can't live like this anymore.
You realised you were in such a dark place.
Such a dark place, you know, like, and it'd be in my head consistency, like, you know, like die, 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 especially in the coming down stages.
Yeah.
Because the recovery used to last 24 hours. Got to like 72 hours and I was still feeling down, still in bed, you know what I mean? The recovery, as you get older, it just gets so much worse, which means your mental health gets worse. My mental health was pretty bad as a kid, to be honest. Like, I did try to take my life twice in my teenhood. Things got better, but then, you know, the drugs got worse in my my early 20s to mid-20s to, I guess, now. And, yeah, that's also the reason why I stopped, because I was like, there's so much to live for.
What do you think they fulfilled for you at that moment in time? What was their purpose?
I think it just became habit. You know, it was like sometimes I didn't even want it. It just became habit. It just became a routine. So at first it was self-medication. And then being the life of the party, you know, you see my Instagram, I like going crazy.
You do?
I do. And I'm learning that I can do that without it, which is great. But then it just got to oh, I feel like I actually need this. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it, but I feel like I need it. So yeah, I'm really happy I nipped it in the bud.
The highs get higher and the lows get lower.
So low, too low, way low. And like mental health isn't a thing in my family, to be honest. They don't really talk about it much, which is so unfortunate. So you kind of learn it from like TikTok and like friends and stuff. And therapy never really worked for me. Like CBT doesn't really work for me. I'm just like, oh, I know this stuff already. Not to sound like big-headed or anything, but it's like...
I mean, to be honest with you, CBT, it depends what you're using CBT for, but what people don't realise is cognitive behavioural therapy is a long, drawn-out process that really you should look at 40, 50 sessions of CBT. People go into it thinking, I only need 3. I mean, I don't practice CBT. I think it's a very slow psychological methodology for getting a result, right? So it doesn't fit with what I want to achieve for people. But certainly CBT for certain things it can be useful, but it's a lot. People don't realize. They think, oh, I'm going to go for 4 sessions. No, you're looking at 30, 40 sessions realistically. That's what we don't know.
So you know what's so crazy you mentioned that? Because it's such a like long process, the packet, when you get to talk to people about the stuff that you're going through, everything comes out. You've got like 40 sessions in one session. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like that really helped me get out what I had going on emotionally to like the people in my life. So, you know, they call me and I'd be like sniffing. They wouldn't know. They probably knew. But I'm so like, I'm ADHD anyway. So I'm like, blah, 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 blah. So I think I probably masked it quite a lot. But it really helped me at first get all the crap that I needed to get out of me until it stopped. And it backfired and slapped me in the face. So, yeah.
And what were the consequences of your addictions on your personal and your working relationships?
Oh, terrible. Absolutely terrible. I ran my own business and I actually had a really nice meeting with my business partner yesterday about it. Excuse me. But yeah, run my own business. When you're working for yourself and you're working freelance, like you have to be on your game. I was not on my game. I was using every excuse under the sun not to go in. Like, if I had a cat or a dog, I'd probably say I had a cat or a dog. You know what I mean? And they'd be pregnant or, you know, my neighbour got run over. It was just something ridiculous, something stupid just to get me out of it. Knowing full well, you know, I'm messaging saying I'm feeling ill and I'm still, like, sniffing. Do you know what I mean? Or still drinking or still out, you know, with the lads or with the gals. So I lost a lot of job opportunities from not showing up. You know, it put a rocky situation for me. My business partner, who's, you know, he was actually my mentor from when I was 14. So he's like family. So I'm really fortunate to have him in my life because he was so supportive. He's like a dad to me. So that's nipped in the bud. When I was working, after the funding got cut from that business, like I talked about earlier, I then had to go to normal, like, PAYE jobs. So I did something in, like, you know, a couple of businesses that are very high in the music industry. And working in this corporate lifestyle, it did not work for me at all because I didn't have that freedom.
But did your addiction, did that affect your addiction?
Yeah.
Did your addiction have an effect on it?
Yeah, because I had so much freedom working for myself, and then you're working a normal 9 to 5 and you're still doing what you're doing in that 9 to 5 like you had the freedom of when you're working freelance. So ultimately I lost both of those jobs because I couldn't keep up with it. I just wasn't showing up, or I'd go in like coming down or hungover. Do you know what I mean? Like I remember we went on a trip to Edinburgh this one time and I met this couple in a bar because I refused to go back to the apartment. And we ended up getting on it till 7 a.m. And then I had to go to...
Just random people.
Just random people. Oh, that's another thing. The randomest people that I've had in my house is crazy. These strangers. And there was this one time where I'm so happy it didn't happen. But, you know, I'm really happy I used my initiative and I said my housemate was in because it got to the point where I could have been sexually assaulted, like really badly. This guy had a screw loose, an absolute screw loose. So I'm really happy that I said my housemate was in. But the amount of random people that...
From using?
From using.
You'd been out using with this person.
Yeah.
And he wanted to come back to your house and carry on using.
Yeah. You know, so the amount of random people that I had in the house or my houses using, so dangerous. It's like all of, you know, I don't know what the word is. You might have to help me, but, you know, my safety just went out the window. You know,
You're
like,
putting
I had
yourself in vulnerability. You're vulnerable.
Yeah, 100%. I had no vigilance. It was just the packet, the drink. We're out here to have a good time. You know, there were times though where, there are times, not anymore, I guess, but I took pictures of people's IDs before they entered my house.
You took people's IDs before they entered your house.
Yeah, I took pictures of it because I'm like, I don't know you. Anything could happen.
Okay. Was that on your using paranoia or was that?
I think it was a using paranoia because kind of like, you know, before you enter a club situation. Because I'm like, if something goes wrong in this house, at least like, or if I'm out in a taxi after like a rave and I'm going to your yard, I'm sending a picture of your ID to a mate because if anything happens to me, then, you know, Elliott, then we've got your details, mate. Do you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I know that, like when you go in a club and they give you a copy of your driving license before you come in this club, for example, you have to give your ID in case of any repercussions.
My house was the club.
But I didn't know that your front door of your house, you were the doorman.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know.
Oh my God.
So what was your wake-up call? What was it that made you go, fuck, I need to quit all this?
Finances, not being able to pay things on time consistently, mental health, you know, even like the sexual aspect of it and just the people that I was deciding to sleep with.
You were making choices that you wouldn't have made if you weren't using.
100%. Definitely. And
tell me about that, because there's a lot of women that are going to listen to, well, I hope there are, women that are going to listen to this podcast and these interviews for you to, you know, inspire them and for them to listen to your journey and for them to take some things and go, oh, yeah, I do that, or no, I don't do that, or yeah, or. So tell me about those choices, because it's really interesting for them to hear it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put it point blank, and I actually spoke about this in one of my meetings. I can't remember, apart from my GCSEs, a time where I've had a relationship sober, you know? So, you know, I'm very early stages, so I'm still figuring that out, but I'm not going to be dating for a year. But the guys who I was dating were just as bad as I was, if I'm honest. And I was, my self-love for myself was so low, and I was degrading myself, and I really mixed, you know, sex for love, you know what I mean? And when the drugs come in, it's like you forget who you are, you forget your sense of self, so you are connecting with pretty much anyone and everyone, and then further down the line, it hurts you, just as the drugs do. You know what I mean? So I was hurting myself in so many ways, and that was including the relationships that I was getting myself into, because I just wasn't vigilant, or I wasn't reading the red flags that were very vigilant, and people were like, Savannah, hello, wake up. But yeah, my head was just in the clouds, to be honest. So,
and did you tell anyone that you wanted to quit, and how did they react?
Yeah, I told loads. I told loads of people that I wanted to quit. Like, loads of people knew I was desperate to quit. And
what was their reaction?
A lot of them were using themselves. So we'd have these conversations at like 6 a.m. in their kitchens, you know what I mean? And we'd laugh and we'd cry about it, and then we'd end up doing it a couple of days later.
The kitchen table discussions.
The kitchen table discussions.
Yeah. And also the other thing is the other person who uses, like if they're a friend of yours that they use, as much as they want you to stop, they also don't want to be left behind. Did you find that?
Yeah. I'll speak from my perspective quickly. I felt really trapped using. I was going to the same pubs, the same bars, the same places over and over again. People who were traveling, my friends were traveling, they were going places, they were doing things, you know, settling down in various places. And I was just stuck in Camden. You know, I was becoming quite resentful of it, rather than feeling happy for them, which I usually am. And I think a lot of people have come to me and they're like, oh, Sav, I really want to get clean. And the amount of people in these 96 days that I've spoken to are like, yeah, I really want to get clean. I'm trying. I'm like, hey, when it's your time and when you feel ready, you feel ready. I can't force you into this, you know. But if you ever want to talk about it, I'm here to speak about it, and I can help guide you through it, and I'll point you to the right places that you need to go to. But it's going to sound maybe a bit selfish of me, but I just really need to focus on my sobriety. I can't focus on anything else. I can't really focus on anyone else because I'm so early into it and there are so many triggers around me because I'm still in the music industry, still in the events, I'm still working with artists, I'm becoming an artist myself and I'm taking it seriously and it's effing everywhere. And
Yes, it
I
is.
just have to keep my head on my shoulders. And I had to even send a voice note to a friend 2 days ago who really wanted to hang out sober. And I felt quite bad about it. But I was like, look, I bumped into your boyfriend in the beginning of my sobriety and he was adamant that he was never going to stop. And he was also my dealer. So I'm like, I love you, girl, but even the thought of being around you is triggering for me. So I've had to leave people behind. And I've actually unfollowed quite a few people who have just connected with alcohol and getting on it. Because I don't want to see pictures of pubs and stuff calling up, you know what I mean? Like, I'm done with that. There's a certain threshold of Camden that I've never passed, apart from going to squash on the bus. Because if I pass
Is that your thing, squash?
Yeah, I'm trying it out.
Play
It's
squash?
good.
Good
Yeah,
for you.
it's fun. It's good.
Good for you.
I'm trying to get into, like, finding different activities
Yeah,
and stuff.
absolutely. Sorry, carry on. It
No
just
worries.
took me-
It's cool. But, yeah, there's a certain part of Camden that I cannot pass. I feel like if I pass that threshold, it's game over. Because that was, like, where I was trapped for so long, you know. I feel like I'm in this weird video game where it's like, you know, I'll lose lives if I pass this threshold of Camden. So, yeah, I don't want to leave anyone behind, but if they're not going to, you know, even if they can't use successfully, or if they can't be respectful of the fact that I'm sober and they can't drink or whatever around me, then I'm so sorry, bye. Like, I really can't be around that. And so far, I'm connecting with more beautiful people in my life who have always been in my life, and now I'm just figuring out that they're sober.
Wow.
You know, it's
Is
crazy.
that because you were associated with the people that were using before, and now all of a sudden you're not
Yeah.
associated with those people? They're like, whoa, I forgot about you.
Yeah, literally. It's mental. It's crazy. It's like there's so many people out of the woodwork on my algorithm or I'm speaking to who have been sober for 10 months, 6 months, 3 months, a year, 2 years. I'm like, where have you been? Oh, okay, I was using. That's probably why I haven't seen you.
Absolutely.
So it's really cool. Like, I did a meeting and, you know, bumped into a friend who I used to use and work with. She's been sober for a year. And then I picked up one of my chips and bumped into a friend and both our eyes lit up. We were like, oh, wow, we're both doing this. So, yeah, my world is changing and it's really, I'm loving it.
It's
really
good. I've never been a musician. I'm not involved in the music industry in that way. So when I say this, it sounds a bit weird. But
Yeah.
from my experience in the music industry, I know a lot of people in the music industry, clients, people I associate with. It was very rife in the music industry, but the thing that I'm hearing is there's a lot more sober parties, a lot more DJs that are going sober. DJ Pat Wilson, Jumping Jack Frost, Brandon Block. These are just people I've interviewed who are there to tell their story, just as you are. And I think there is a DJ Ross Mack. There are places within the music industry now that are opening up to being sober, to being clean, to not using.
Yeah.
More and more.
Yeah, there are. I'm still yet to. I know there's one called Rise and Shine. I've not connected with it, but a DJ who I really adore. She's been sober for a very long time, and she helps with that. But I actually came back from Hospitality on the Beach, which is a 7-day drum and bass festival.
Where's that?
5,000 Croatia, Tisno.
Wicked.
And as you can imagine, it's 5,000 drum and bass users, you know.
Using.
Yeah.
5,000 people using.
Yeah. So, woo, you know, in my 70 to 80 days of sobriety, it was risky, but look,
What made you decide to go there? Was that work?
Yeah, it was work.
So you got called for a job to go there?
Yeah.
And you were like, money talks?
Yeah, exactly. You know?
I'm going to go and I'm going to be in control and I'll put myself in the fire a little bit, but I need the money.
Yeah, exactly. Needed the money, loved drum and bass, and I got an opportunity to like DJ 3 times. And I didn't want to turn that down. Everyone apart from one person out of 5,000 people was so respectful. I told every single person, no matter who it was, I'm sober. and people were like offering me drinks, and I'm like, oh, you don't drink anymore, sorry. Like, how cool is that? People were
that's really
so respectful, and pretty much everyone who I bumped into were like, oh, do you remember when you gave me a bit of packet? Or, oh, do you remember when you stuck me a bit of rum? Most of the stories that people were reminiscing of me had to do with using or drinking in some sort of way.
Yeah.
And I was smiling, but I was actually quite embarrassed by it. Because I'm like, can you not really remember me for anything else?
That's interesting.
Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, oh, it's a bit sad. So it was really cool to just go there sober, known as an artist, known as someone who works behind the scenes, and still my crazy, beautiful self. And the fact that everyone was really respectful, apart from one guy, F him. But yeah, he apologized, so it's okay.
Have you faced any challenges in your journey of sobriety the first few months?
Yeah, it was really tough. Like 11 days was the longest I'd ever gone sober, ever. And I know that because I had that sober app thing. So when I got to 11 days, like I was like, I bawled my eyes out because I was like, oh, I passed it, you know? So that was really nice. But yeah, there were some difficult times where I was really cheeky and I thought I could have a non-alcoholic beer at home. And that was triggering.
Was it?
And I really wanted to pick up. And I got myself into a meeting and I cried my eyes out because I was like, well, the cheek of me, you know? I really thought I could do it.
Even a zero alcohol drink
Yeah.
trick for you
Yeah.
triggered you.
Yeah. It was way too early for me to dabble and get too cocky. Way too early.
But you've learned that now.
Yeah, I've learned it now. And now I'm really enjoying it. I'm having a great time. I'm having a ball. I feel great. My body's great. I've lost weight in a good way. I feel energized. I can still be like my, you know, my ADHD creative self. I've had more opportunities within 3 months than I've had in a year, you know, work-wise. And people want to connect with me, and I feel like I'm being invited to places out more, you know. I felt
There's
like
changes in your life happening.
it's proper change. And it's like, wow, why didn't I do this sooner? You know, I'm like, this is really, really cool. I'm just learning how to pace myself because I feel like I'm making up for a lot of lost time. So I don't want to get to a point of burnout. So I'm really trying to like hold it down, but I'm also really excited and I want to do it all at once because I know there's so much to experience, you know. But yeah, it's great. I'm loving it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Savannah, I read some Savannah's tips and tricks. Come on, girl.
Okay.
Come on, let's have your tips. Because I read them and I thought, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, these are all things that I would tell a patient anyway when I see me in clinic.
Yeah.
Let's hear Savannah's tips and tricks.
So tip number 1, connection is protection. If you're ever feeling like you want to use, pick up the phone, call somebody who can resonate to that.
Why do you think that is?
Because they'll tell you all the things that you definitely do not want to hear, but you need to hear.
Yep, that's one.
And it also comes from someone who gets it and understands.
That's
you know
two.
What I mean? And, you know, it does
Give me
take
one
you-
more.
Oh,
Come on.
It takes you out of the brain fog.
That does 3, but I'll give you a better one.
Okay. What was it?
Because when you talk to those people, they know what you've been through. They know what they've been through. They've been through it too.
Yeah.
And the most powerful thing about becoming sober is finding yourself. The most powerful thing about being clean is finding yourself, because that person will have been lost for years, because you don't get somebody who suddenly becomes addicted in 3 months and they only use for 3 months and quit. These people use, and we end up using, we start off small and it ends up and we lose ourselves. We lose our identity. We lose who we are.
Yeah.
So carry on with your tips and tricks. Come on.
Tips and tricks. I can't remember the other ones.
I got them written down, so we're
Okay.
okay. Hold on a second. Let's
Been
just get
put
my
on the
notes.
spot.
So connection is protection, right? So
Yeah.
hang on a minute. The other thing I was going to say about connection is when you use, it's disconnection, right? It's the opposite. Think about this. When we start using, you're out there socializing, being with your mates, you're racking it up. It's all a good laugh.
Yeah.
Time goes on, time moves on until eventually, like you said, you end up on your own, at home,
Yeah.
in the dark,
Yeah.
doing lines, you become disconnected. You become antisocial. So one of the greatest things is to connect again. Connection is protection. So you've broken all that down. You're rebuilding it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got next one. Delete the numbers.
Delete the numbers. Yes, delete the numbers.
It's a good one, right? That's got to do that.
Yeah, you
know-
know, just to quickly come off that, I'm still yet to speak to her actually. Someone asked, knowing full well I was going through sobriety, but I feel like I relapsed so much before coming into the program that I'm in now. They weren't taking it seriously because I wasn't taking it seriously in the past, and they asked me for a number, and I was so upset, and I was like, I'm going to block your number for just a period of time. This is unacceptable. And I was more upset at myself because I had about 30 numbers from all across the world. Like, I had numbers from France, Croatia, oh my God, I can't remember the other countries, Portugal. Like, I had numbers from every corner and crevice, and I was more upset at myself because why am I holding all these reservations in my phone? So yeah, I've deleted all the numbers. They're not needed.
Do you know, when I stopped using, I probably had local to me 5 people I could have called.
Yeah.
5 reliable, more than that, but 5 reliable. It took over a year. I couldn't tell you how long. Over a year, even if I deleted them, to stop getting texts from people.
Yeah, the menus.
Do you know how many B's and Q's that I must have got to, hey, this was Q, this is B, this is X, this is Y, this is Z. This is my special menu. It takes so long.
Crazy. And it's like, you block them and they just come out. And I've started to message them and I'm like, mate, block my number ASAP, you know, because I'm like, I'm not running for this. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
You said finding new hobbies and sports.
Yeah. I'm trying, like, I'm booking, like, a parkour park soon.
Oh, what?
Like, you know, I think that's what they're called. Ones where you could do, like, backflips and front flips in the foam and run around.
Oh, on a trampoline?
Yeah. It's
I know where there's one of those.
trampolining,
One
you
not
could
far
do,
from me. I know what you're talking about.
Parkouring and
sounds-
squash. I'm doing that on Sunday with my housemate. My mate Shaq really got me into that. That's really fun. I can swim now.
You couldn't swim before?
No. This time last year in Croatia, I was drowning. I was like, I couldn't float. And I got onto the sea, and my mate Tina watched me from the beach, and I just took a breath, and I started floating. And I was like, oh, am I doing this? And I started swimming. Like, within, 7 days, I went for a morning swim after the rave. I got home around 3 a.m., woke up, or 2 a.m., woke up at, 9 a.m., and I went for a morning swim before work in Croatia every day. By the end of it, I had my mate Tina's mask on, and I was diving. I was
wicked.
Watching the fishes. I was doing roly-polies. I was doing handstands. I was like, oh, this is cool. So it's crazy getting into these activities now that I'm sober, and just thinking to myself, just believe in yourself, you can do it, and just getting out and doing it and having the energy to do it.
Savannah, I've got a great one that you said.
Oh, yeah.
I like this one. This one's a really good, I like this one a lot. You said, let's find it, hold on. Something like about social media. Where was it? Social media cleansing.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me.
My algorithm used to be full of jokes about using, users, drinking, going out, but now it's just manifestations and positivity and sobriety. And yeah, you get the odd using here and there, but it's like you're laughing at the pain, do you know what I mean? Rather than fulfilling the pain. Oh God, excuse me.
No holds barred here.
Yeah, I've unfollowed the people who I've disconnected to by drinking and using. There's no need for them to be on my social media anymore. I've unfollowed a lot of people who are glorifying it, wearing it as a badge of honor. No, thank you, in the bin.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you because
Yeah.
Because when you said that, because I always ask my guests, tell me some of the craziest things that you've ever done. The reason I ask that is not to glorify it, but so that other people go, That's the sort of thing I do. I've done that. What an idiot. I've done that.
Yeah.
So we empathise and we can identify that we also were like that. That's why I asked those questions. But you're quite right. People who are glorifying, you just cut them off your social media.
Yeah, 100%, you know, and the amount of dangerous situations I put myself in and interactions through using, there's parts where I can really laugh about it, but there's parts where it's like, that was not funny, you know, and, you know, this stuff nearly put me in the grave. This stuff, you know, disconnected me from a lot of people who I cherished in my life. This stuff put me in debt, you know what I mean? Not so much debt, something that I can really get out of, which I'm working on now, so I'm really happy about that. But no, F that. I don't want to be affiliated with it anymore. So no. So when I wake up and I see great things on my social media and on my algorithm and the people that I really want to connect with, I'm like, this is how life should be. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's going to stay that way.
Surround yourself with people that are like people.
Yeah.
People you like.
Yeah, 100%. People who I aspire to be.
Absolutely.
Inspired to be. You know, like I had a really good conversation with my mate the other day who got me a nice little job. And she showed me her bank account and I was like, that's what I'm aiming for. You know?
High five.
It's like, thank you. Ooh. You know, I have no resentment anymore. I'm just like, no, this is where I want to be. You know, I'm not down for that jealousy crap. You know what I mean? I'm like, I see it, I'm around it, I can have it if I really want it and I work for it. You know what I mean? If you've got what I want, I'm happy for you. I'm coming. I'm 2 steps behind you, mate.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Savannah, just before we finish, is there anyone you'd like to thank or say thank you to or anything you'd like to mention before we close?
Yeah, I'd really love to thank the person who is my sponsor, who's been sticking by my side, and one of the programs that I'm in, it saved my life. And all the friends, you know, and the family that stood by me for so long. And the people on my social media who are championing me through this. And, you know, I just love it. I love how people are connecting and inspired by it, and I'm inspired by them. And also you. Thank you so much.
Savannah Simms, thank you for coming clean with me.
Thank you. Cheers. Thanks,
you.
guys.